Human capital is a critical asset for national development. The economy of a nation is only as good as its human capital resource, and its growth and sustainable development is determined by the equality of same. In line with the fast-changing world that is driven by innovation, technology, and high competitive business environments, the demands and expectations of the 21st century world of work are dynamic and so are the workplace skills requirements for employees to function. Employers of labor are constantly in search of potential employees with contemporary and relevant skills that can add value to their experience and endeavors. The prevailing employability challenge amongst young people is a phenomenon that must be addressed, and the need for government and relevant stakeholders to harness, nurture and equip the nation's critical asset with contemporary and relevant skills and to engage their comparative demographic advantage, which finds expression in numerical strength, creative ingenuity, resilience and raw energy for the benefit of the nation. Popular opinion is that Nigerian graduates are generally not employable because they lack the required skills needed by the employers, hence the shortage of highly skilled personnel to meet employers' needs and the high rate of youth employment in the country. Meanwhile, various factors like unqualified lectures, inadequacy of study facilities, employer discrimination and preference, poor funding and irrelevant curricula have been blamed for the reason as some of the reasons for this anomaly. Young people, fresh and unemployed graduates lack these emerging and contemporary workplace skills, hence the prevailing employability challenge amongst young people. This gap has become a phenomenon that has thrown critical concerns to employers of labor. According to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics 2020 Q2 figures, graduates and postgraduates combined made up about 2.9 million of total Nigerians that are unemployed. Joining us today on the debrief to discuss the topic, assessing Nigerian graduate unemployment and employability, is Femi Balogun. He is the evaluation and research specialist at Jobberman, and Owugbemi, Akin-Olugbade, director of First More Plus Africa. I am Benga Aborowa. Welcome to the debrief, gentlemen.
Hi, Benga. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Benga. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, I'd like to start with you, Femi. What do Nigerian employers perceive as the determining factors in the possible declaration that some Nigerian graduates are unemployable, from your experience?
We are learning a lot of things, especially now that COVID has hit us hard. There was an entire conversation around, the future of work, and and it was situated within the context of the fourth industrial revolution. And so, for us as a country and the continent, we had anticipated that probably this would be a distant prospect, given that we still have that backlog of the analog reality. But COVID has come and it has fast-tracked the way in which work is even being done now. So we can no longer talk about the future of work because that future of work is already here and it's with us now. So COVID has expanded, what we even used to understand as what it means to be employable in that sense. So now employers are not just looking for people with technical skills, but they are also looking for people that have soft skills as well as digital skills. So this is, how employers, because many of the employers who were able to stay within business, after COVID, had to shift into remote working, and remote working means that you have to use tech tools to do work and also collaborate with teams, whether in country or, outside of country, and also, using tech platforms and tech tools to also engage clients. So it has really expanded what it means to be employable. So you don't just need to have technical skills, you also need to have soft skills and digital skills. Yeah, so digital skills such as even sending an email, is something that we are finding to be a gap. And then when we're talking about soft skills is in relation to critical thinking, the touch of excellence, self-leadership, creativity, and that's some of the things that employers are requiring now.
Now, Bemi, as someone who has worked in Europe and an employer of labor yourself, could you tell if there's any obvious discrepancy? I'm not trying to create some dichotomy here between Nigerian trained graduates and those that studied abroad, from your experience.
Yeah, so what I've seen with a lot of Nigerian graduates is the quality of personnel is quite poor. And this, I think, cuts across different cadres of society. The ability for Nigerian graduates, some of them, not all of them obviously, to self-propel and have independent thoughts. The ability for them to read sometimes and write and do basic arithmetic. The ability for them to present. It's quite poor when you look across the board for the Nigerian graduates. Now, obviously, it's as a result of poor educational facilities and capacity within Nigeria. I think the lack of good training, the lack of exposure for many people is a big problem. But there are gaps that can be bridged relatively easily given information technology now and the ability to access information all across the world with much ease.
So they can always make up for the shortfall in what they didn't get in university by self-propelling, like you said. Now, coming back to you, Femi, your job's description says you're the evaluation and research specialist as Jobberman. Jobberman's work is to connect employers with talent. So you're very familiar with this field. Do you ever get specific requests that, look, I want a foreign trained graduate in the course of your business? And why is this so?
So those kind of requests will be based on the skills, especially when they are they are very technical and most times very related to digital skills. So there's a tendency for us to have that. But what we are also trying to tell employers is that we are able to also connect them with Nigerians who might not necessarily be in Nigeria and who have those skills. So that's how we are able to reach that gap. Sometimes we are also able to connect them with Africans who, across, because Jobberman, we're a platform that, have representation across the continent. So we would try to also leverage, our sister companies in other African countries to help employers find those kinds of. And that's because we are big on also ensuring that Nigerians and Africans find work.
Now, Bemi, the graduate manufacturing factories, the universities, polytechnics, College of Educations, they continue to produce graduates. There are 134 recognized polytechnics in Nigeria, 29 federal polytechnics, 48 state polytechnics, 57 private polytechnics as of October 2019. Similarly, Nigeria presently has 174 universities. Nigeria's 308 degree awarding institutions have an enrollment population of 2 million and produce about 600,000 graduates yearly. Yet, there are no jobs to absorb all these graduates. Are we paying too much attention to university education and degrees without looking at the quality? Or, in other climes, does everybody have the dream of having a university degree? And not having a university degree, does it make you a less successful person in life? Yeah.
I think for me to address this in my own way, I would approach it from a different perspective without focusing particularly on university degrees. I think we as Nigerians and Africans in general probably need to re-examine what we consider the path to education. You know, the whole idea of having to do 4 years, 6 years primary, 6 years secondary, and about 4 years tertiary, it might no longer be necessary given the ability to access information across the globe relatively easily now. Now, what that can do for Nigerians, I believe, is to compress the amount of time that you spend in an institution learning a particular, whether it's a trade or a degree or whatever it is that we want to call it at that point. And I say this because I think we are too far behind to try and re-engineer the current educational path, given the amount of time it takes to catch up. The difference between where we are intellectually as a society, the difference between where we are in terms of technological advancements and the ability to deliver on projects and be efficient is just too wide. So if we continue trying to catch up using the formula that has been given to us, I'm afraid that we just never might. So yes, I think we do pay too much attention to university qualifications as they are currently defined. And it's important that if we want to change that, we should look at education holistically and understand that, look, once you get somebody now the ability to reason, the ability to read and write, the ability to do basic arithmetic, and you give them the ability to, think. You give people reasoning.
And you don't necessarily need a university degree to be able to do all of that.
They don't necessarily need the university degrees. They need to be able to go online, research whatever information they're trying to figure out, learn it independently. You will still have some sort of tests and examinations that, assess people's capacities and capabilities. But it is I think in my view, it is a much better way to advance our educational deficit in the country.
Okay. Gentlemen, just hold your thoughts there. We'll go on a quick break. This is NC Debrief. We're discussing assessing Nigerian graduate employability and unemployment. When we return, we'll be looking at unemployment in the country. How do we breach this gap? We have millions of Nigerian youths that are unemployed. What are SMEs doing? What is the federal government doing? We'll discuss all of this and more when we return. You're welcome back to NC Debrief, and we're discussing Nigerian graduate employability and unemployment in Nigeria. I have two gentlemen with me live on the show, Femi, Balogun and Owugbemi Akin-Olugbade. Now, before we went on the break, I was talking about unemployment. I would like to have Owugbemi answer this question, and I'll come back to you, Femi. They say SMEs are the backbone of the Nigerian economy and the highest employers of labor. In what ways can the government create an enabling environment to allow SMEs and businesses to thrive so they can absorb the teeming population of unemployed graduates? From your experience, Owugbemi, you're a businessman, and yeah.
Okay, so I'll try and touch on just about 5 points that I think are critical. There are several ways, but I think these are overarching and cut across various industries. And obviously, I'll be speaking about the industries that I'm involved in because those are the ones I know better. The most fundamental thing that I think the Nigerian government must approach and address as soon as possible is the credit market. Nigeria's credit market is technically a joke, if I'm to be frank. We live in an economy where the growth rates for the past 5-6 years have been less than 2%, give or take. But the credit rate for lenders is hovering between 20 to 30%. Now, what you're telling people is the cost of money that you need to be able to grow and advance costs you 10 times the amount of growth that your economy is currently achieving. So how do you expect people to be able to repay their loans. It's technically impossible. It's something that needs to be urgently looked at. You know, we follow a methodology that I think is outdated. Nigerians are focused on inflation as a metric for evaluating what should be the price of money. That's the interest rate from banks. But the fact is, our inflation is more often than not caused by, you know, the exchange rates. Now, the growth rate of the economy is more important for your credit market than your inflation rate. I don't want to get into, you know, an academic discussion on economics, but it's important that we tie what we're trying to achieve, which is economic growth, to the cost of achieving economic growth, which is the ability to borrow and lend money. If the government decides to create two different stratas of credit markets in the economy where, you know, if you want to buy government bonds, you are operating at a different level. And if you want to do regular business, you operate at a different level. I think these are things that can be created. If the Nigerian government doesn't address the cost of money in Nigeria, it's very difficult to see how the economy would grow. And how businesses would grow as a result. Now, Femi, Nigeria's unemployment rate as at the second quarter of 2020 was 27.1%, indicating about 21.7 million Nigerians remain unemployed. Nigeria's unemployment and underemployment rate is a combined 55.7%. What is the way forward? How can unemployment be minimized? I know total eradication of unemployment will be utopian. Simple solutions.
So I think there's really no silver bullet to solving this problem. But I think there are fundamental things like had already been mentioned. First of all, our curriculum, our university curriculum has seen many moves, right? It's not relevant for the labor market. So there are jobs emerging. You know, when we talk about the fourth industrial revolution, there are tech jobs emerging, right? But our graduates are not able to fill those roles, right? So that I think the first thing we need to do is have a conversation around the quality of graduates that we have, or if I will put it a different way, ensuring that there is an integration between or a conversation between the labor market and our educational institutions, so that products that are coming out of our schools are relevant for industry. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is the gender question. If you look at education in itself, many young women are not drop out from secondary school rate, and so because many young women cannot transition into higher levels of learning, the opportunity and contribution of women in our labor market is very limited. There are many women entrepreneurs that would have emerged and would have contributed to our economy if we are paying attention to their continuous learning. That's true. So now we have to talk about entrepreneurship. When you talk about big businesses, you will find most of them in the South, right? But not a lot of them are found in the North, right? And so we need to, as a matter of urgency, begin to look for ways to support entrepreneurship in the North and across the country. We need to fix the barriers that support people to do the ease of doing business, the ease of doing business, electricity infrastructure, electricity, access to internet, and all of these things. These are things that also contribute to our economic outcomes. So I think these are some of the things that can be done. And then there are also, NGOs and organizations like Jobberman that are trying to support with additional skills to support young people's transition into the world. I think there's a need for a mainstreaming of soft skills and digital skills, so that at least for the jobs that are available, young people can transition into those kinds of.
Fantastic. Now, Bemi, you could choose to do your business anywhere in the world. I mean, you have, it's a personal choice. Facebook just moved its headquarters, Africa headquarters, to Accra. The ease of the business environment here, a lot of people complain about the cost of doing business in Nigeria. So just looking at future prospects, what bright spots are there for you? What makes you believe that, you know, I have a role to play in the future of Nigeria? When you look at some of your young employees, what do you tell them?
Well, I think Nigeria's growth.
What positives are there? Yes,
are significant. I sometimes consider the fact that this is probably the only country where, you know, you have people who work extremely hard. There are Nigerians that are easily doing 12 to 14-hour days, day in, day out, 6 days a week, entire year, and they are doing it just to get by. They're not doing it to live a comfortable life. Now, what that tells me is if the right incentives are put in place, Nigerians can be some of the hardest working people in the world. And it's just about creating an economic value labor market where people feel as if their efforts are being rewarded adequately, and people feel as if there is a growth path in their career. You know, it's important that people see the value they're creating when they're working, whether it's personal or it's societal, and they get rewarded for their efforts. But at the moment, the Nigerian economic labor market just seems to be in a regressive spiral. You know, people are not getting any better, regardless of working long, arduous hours, and it's just to get by and keep themselves busy. So the people that are framing the economy need to look at how do we allow people graduate from one level to another as things develop. It's important that people start to own homes and decent quality homes. I think that's the most fundamental thing that should be addressed for the Nigerian worker. There should be a path to home ownership for every Nigerian that wants to own a home at a reasonable cost and a reasonable rate within a long time frame. So if you work for 20-something years, year in, year out, you should end up owning a decent home. And then you should be able to trade that home or, you know, hand that home down to your children and create wealth. That is how other countries have done it. And it's important we look at something like that as a model to follow.
Now, Femi, just before we wrap up, in a sentence, what employability skills could Nigerian graduates or Nigerians in general have and acquire that will transcend industries? What skill set? Okay, I think we lost your audio there. Can you help us check your audio? Can't hear you.
Is it better now?
Okay. Yes, much better.
Yes, since you said I should make it quick, I think that for every younger graduate who is listening in right now, I would say just come to the Jobberman platform, jobberman.com/soft skills. I mean, there's a bouquet of skills that's required by employers, and we have developed this curriculum based on, you know, our interactions with employers. So many of these skills you'll find there are the things that are relevant. So skills, soft skills such as creativity, professionalism, problem solving, are things that you will learn on that platform. And we have it on different, you know, LMSs such as Coursera and Debrief. We also have some of these trainings on Facebook, some are on Telegram. And for every young graduate listening in, just tap into this opportunity.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Unfortunately, time is never a friend here on the Debrief. I wish we could go on, but we have to take the news at the top of the hour. I would like to say a very big thank you to you, gentlemen, for taking time out to discuss this topic with me today on the Debrief. I appreciate your insights on the subject.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
That's it on this week's Debrief. We've been talking about graduate unemployment and employability. My guests have been Owugbemi Akin-Olugbade and Femi Balogun, evaluation and research specialist at Jobberman, and Benga Borowa. Until next time on Debrief.